Hello guys, welcome back in Goku Manhwa. Let's continue.
Asu glanced upward as the warmth of the sunlight fell softly but steadily on her shoulder. The quiet breeze grounded her in a way she hadn't realized she craved until that very moment. Her hands gripped the edge of the bench tightly, fingers stiff with the tension that had lingered in her all morning. The child across from them, stubborn, wild, and entirely unbothered, was still seated on the swing. But Tiha's focus didn't shift. He offered a glance, just enough to comfort, then redirected his attention to the child. His posture was relaxed, his voice calm and gentle, yet held a tone of finality that left no room for argument. There was no need to scold. Tiha simply stated that the game had gone on long enough, that the child needed to rest, and that rules existed for a reason. He wasn't there to control, but to protect, and that was reason enough for the child to relent. His voice softened further as he leaned toward her, his words brushing the air between them with playful curiosity, wondering aloud if she missed the chaos of her old neighborhood already. The comment threw her off, the shift in subject so abrupt it scattered her thoughts. She turned to him with startled surprise, her breath catching briefly as she tried to gather a reply. Her instinct was to laugh and say not at all, to explain how peace suited her more than she thought, but the words came clumsily, slowed by hesitation. Then came another question, quiet but pointed. Light in delivery, but not without substance. Had she really wanted this change? Was she ready to let go of the familiar? The question seemed silly, yet they landed unexpectedly deep. She hurried to respond, shaking her head quickly as she scrambled for certainty. There was no chance she'd go back. None. Without waiting for more discussion, she stood and reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his, and stepping away from the conversation. She nudged him forward, eager to walk away from the echo of that stubborn voice still lingering behind them. She didn't have to turn around to know the child was watching. The quiet was telling. The reluctance must have painted his face clearly. The look of someone who had just been gently told no without resistance or fuss. He hadn't expected the change to come from such quiet resolve. Tiha, silent and steady as ever, gave the building one last glance, a silent farewell. Then he stepped beside Haisu without pause, allowing her to guide them away from the old train station and back toward the quiet hum of the main road. With each step, the tension lessened, like shedding a second skin. Jesus slowed her pace after a while, no longer needing to rush, and peeked at him from the side of her vision. She asked if he had really waited the entire time, if she hadn't just imagined the way he stood exactly where she hoped he would be. He confirmed with a quiet nod, the kind that left little room for doubt. Yet, unease still followed her. She murmured something about his time, wondering if he had skipped something important for her sake. Wouldn't that cause problems for him? But Tiha responded only with mischief, asking if she'd cover for him if he missed a shift. The way he said it, smooth and half-teasing, made her cheeks burn with color. She turned away, trying not to let her expression betray her flustered thoughts, and busied herself with the contents of her shoulder bag. Tiha tilted his head slightly, confused but intrigued by her sudden dive into the clutter. She didn't answer immediately, her hands brushing over old train stubs and used tissues until she found a tiny folded note. Just one, barely anything really. She pressed it into his hand with serious intent, insisting that he should grab a snack or something, a simple thanks for being there when she needed someone. He looked at the worn paper, then back at her, the beginnings of a grin tugging at his mouth. It was a simple thing, even a little odd, but so unmistakably her, genuine, a bit awkward, and impossibly kind. They kept walking, the night stretching around them like a quiet companion. At one point, curiosity pulled at Jesus again, the question escaping her before caution could stop it. She asked about the station he used to work at, about what he did there. It wasn't grand, just a passing remark, but she hoped it might lead somewhere meaningful. Ta's reply, however, came light and distant. He said it was just an old habit, nothing important. She echoed the phrase quietly to herself, as if trying to understand its weight. Just an old habit. That was the extent of his offering. Yet something in his tone didn't sit right, too vague, too polished. The comfort she'd felt just moments ago started to fade, replaced by a subtle emptiness she couldn't quite place. She let the subject drop. Instead, she asked if he truly needed to head out now. He confirmed with a simple nod, and she responded with quiet acceptance. She told him she was all right now, that he could go, and added softly that she was thankful he'd come, even if only for a brief while. Before he turned to leave, she reached into her purse again, slower this time, and pulled out the item she had bought earlier. The package was still neat, its shape carefully preserved. She hoped it would mean something to him. There wasn't anything else that needed to be said. He didn't speak immediately. She gave him a faint smile, thanked him once more, and turned away. Her walk home felt oddly still. The background hum of the city seemed to hush, overwhelmed by the clutter of her thoughts. When she reached the front gate, she cast a final look back and quietly wished him well. Told him to stay safe. He didn't follow. He remained where he stood long after she disappeared from view, the package still untouched in his hand, fingers grazing the paper's edge as if memorizing its shape. He didn't unwrap it. He didn't go. Something unseen seemed to hold him in place, an invisible pull not yet broken. In a secluded part of the office building, murmurs stirred among a few employees, casual in tone but dense with speculation. One of the veterans, a man who had seen the rise and fall of various faces in power, spoke thoughtfully about the contrast between the former and the current leadership. The previous director, he claimed, had always been sharp, efficient, but cold. There was no softness to him, no pause. Everything felt calculated and distant. But the current head, he seemed more grounded, more real, they agreed. He greeted people by name, asked questions, sometimes even laughed. Maybe it was youth. Maybe he hadn't yet carried the full weight of the title long enough to harden. Maybe something within him had not yet been carved away. Secretary Ha, standing not far from the group, stayed silent. Her expression remained still, unreadable, but her thoughts didn't match the easy praise they shared. She had studied him more than most, had learned the subtle cues of his restraint and the hidden meanings behind his composed demeanor. To her, his kindness was never random. It was crafted over time, purposeful in its delivery. Even the way he nodded, the timing of his responses, the soft tone he used, none of it ever seemed spontaneous. There was no faucet in him. And yet, there was never full disclosure either. He wasn't hiding, but he wasn't offering himself completely. So when she noticed the minor change in his behavior the following day, she took note. His demeanor had altered, not overtly, not enough for most to catch. But to her, who had memorized his quiet rhythm, there was something stiff about the way his brows tensed, something not quite present in his gaze. The manner he tapped his pen, scrolled his screen, even adjusted his chair, all suggested a vague unease. He said nothing about it. He didn't need to. It was rare. And when something rare occurred with him, it meant something had shifted beneath the surface. Then came the request, short and unexpected. A reschedule, a break in routine he almost never entertained. That alone would have been noteworthy. But what followed made it more so. The next morning, she received notice that he would be unavailable for 2 days, citing a personal errand. No further information was given. But the explanation felt shallow. She doubted it. In truth, Ta was not tending to errands. He was elsewhere, far from meetings and polite exchanges, settling a matter that had gone too far. The package delivered to the company had contained something disturbing. Photos of someone tailing Haisu, snapped without her knowledge. That alone was enough to snap something in him. The confrontation was fast and volatile. The man responsible, smug and careless, made the mistake of speaking her name with a sneer. Ta didn't hesitate. His fury erupted into violence, fist striking bone as fury spilled unchecked into the shadowed lot. Jay, who stood a few paces away, watched in silence. Scenes like this weren't unusual. He stopped the fight not from pity but because he recognized the bigger picture. The man didn't understand what he had provoked. Jay pulled Ta away and reminded him of surveillance, the risks involved, the family name they served. Ta didn't protest. Instead, he gave one order, to keep watch over Haisu. Things were in motion, and she couldn't be exposed. The drive back was quiet, the rhythmic drumming of rain a low soundtrack to his thoughts. Ta leaned back, mind racing. Steps had been taken. Control was still his. But when it came to her, things unraveled too quickly. He despised the waiting. Then suddenly, he told Jay to take a different turn. Minutes later, he was back outside her building, standing in the downpour. Rain soaked through his jacket, his hands clenched at his sides. When she opened the door, surprise flickered into alarm. Seeing him drenched and unreadable, she began to speak, but he didn't wait. He stepped forward without pause, his gaze never breaking from hers. She backed up instinctively, only to feel the wall against her spine as he moved closer. His breathing was shallow, his expression intense. He didn't ask for permission. He simply said he needed to stay, not from fear, not from weakness, but from something sharper. And in that breathless moment, soaked and aching, something more than urgency passed between them. It wasn't only longing. It was a deeper pull neither could name.
Hello guys, welcome back in Goku Manhwa, let's continue.
As Bayan Taeha leaned in closer, his lips pressing firmly against Nahisu's, he let his hands travel slowly yet deliberately over her back, tracing the outline of her form as though memorizing it. Nahu noticed the deliberate care in his movements, a touch that once carried the same steadiness as when he had guided her through countless moments before. Yet tonight, there was a softer edge, almost tender, and she could not ignore the unfamiliar warmth in it. As his fingertips moved toward her face, she felt her pulse quicken at the unexpected gentleness. She spoke to him softly, mentioning the slight chill in the air and suggesting they shift closer to the fire, hinting that it might make things feel more right. Nahu remembered that only moments ago, she had been sitting in quiet thought, weaving a small daydream she had built in her own mind, picturing Bayan standing beside her. She had been so absorbed in it alone that his sudden presence might have startled her if he had arrived sooner. But as Bayan's hand cupped her cheek, his gaze holding hers firmly, he murmured that something about this night seemed rare. He recalled her earlier words about wishing for silence under the stars. Yet here she was now, her eyes glistening in the dim light. When he looked at her in question, Nahu simply pressed her lips together and leaned in. Bayamontaha then asked her what she had been thinking about before she arrived, his tone carrying both intrigue and a subtle challenge. Nahisu claimed it was nothing, though deep down she knew she should not have come in without preparing herself. Nahisu felt that the rush in her chest was almost overwhelming, and Bayamha leaned closer, saying he would just hold her for a while before they began. His breath lingered near her ear in slow yet deliberate patterns, sending a strange energy coursing through her entire body. She realized her pulse was racing, her cheeks warm and flushed. Each moment seemed to carry an unshakable weight. Her posture shifted under the quiet pressure of the moment, tense yet drawn in, and her heart pounded faster with each passing second. Yet no matter how much she tried to calm herself, it still felt like too much. Nahisu murmured for him to speak plainly, to stop circling around and just tell her quickly. Hearing this, Bea Ta felt a spark of amusement and triumph. He pulled her closer, remarking that she seemed restless, as though she had been waiting for something far longer than she admitted. Nahu tried to explain that it was not impatience, but that he always managed to draw her deeper into moments she did not expect. She tensed slightly under his steady focus, wondering why his presence felt so unusually consuming this time. She realized that each time they met, she became too absorbed to truly take in the small details of his expression. When she finally looked closely, she thought he seemed far too knowing for his age. She wondered silently how someone like him could carry such boldness, labeling him in her mind as reckless. As she turned her gaze aside, she thought she might have to find a way to outmatch him. She gripped his wrist suddenly, making Bea pause mid-motion, and he stepped closer with an expression that seemed to wonder if she was testing his resolve. Beha considered whether her action was meant to challenge him or signal something else entirely. Nasu told him to stop stalling and get it done now. They removed their outer layers, each fold of fabric sliding away swiftly, and soon Nasu was standing before Baum Tha, asking why he had drawn her so close without warning. Baum Tha simply replied that it felt right to do it this way. Nahisu realized she had never experienced such closeness before, not even in her moments with Kang Em Shu. She felt slightly uneasy standing that near and asked him to give her a moment. Before anything began, she mentioned that she wanted to say something. She admitted to using his name in a false claim, saying they were close when they were not, and to imagining him in her own private thoughts. She said she hoped it had not caused him trouble. But Beyonce only closed the space between them further, refusing the hesitation she had tried to place, making Nasu draw in a sharp breath as her hands held onto him tightly. She steadied her breath against the growing tension, while Bayam Teha remarked that her confession was not the kind he wanted to hear in a moment like this. If they were not close, then what exactly did they mean to each other? The unspoken weight lingered between them. Bam Taha questioned if he was simply a temporary presence, someone she intended to keep until something else took her interest. He recalled Nahisu's earlier words where she had admitted that Bam Teha was far younger yet carried a charm she had not anticipated. Such comments had built expectations he could not easily push aside, and yet she always held herself apart as if guarding the unseen corner of her heart. That hidden distance gnawed at him. Even though she stood so near, in the ways that mattered she felt unreachable. He told her to ease her mind, and she replied that she was already calm, though Bionia sensed otherwise. Still, he found solace in knowing their connection fit so seamlessly. Even if the emotions between them wound themselves into a knot, the way she moved with him was almost overwhelming. Every moment felt rich and consuming, and he thought she fit with him in a way that was almost unreal. And Nahu murmured that they should share such moments again. Behar allowed himself to push another silent boundary, asking if they should meet like this every day. Then, with a trace of humor, he wondered aloud if that would make her grow tired of him faster.
Hello guys, welcome back in Goku Manhwa. Let's continue.
Today's chapter begins with Teo adjusting his position. He seems distracted, his gaze wandering. Then he turned to her. "Are you still trying to test me?" he asked in a hushed voice. "In that case, do not hold back, just keep going. Since it was me who allowed this so easily, you can act without hesitation. You may leave me confused, but at once he feels she is slipping away. Wait. Why do you keep avoiding? If you remain like this," she leaned closer, her face brushing his shoulder, her mind quiet. He pulled her nearer with certainty, stopping her retreat. "If this is a burden to you, we should end it," she answered firmly despite her trembling tone. "To give up, never." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "I will not stop. No matter what happens, how could I wish to stop?" she whispered while sensing him draw in for another kiss. "Then please, keep me close and let me stay with you every single day. Allow me to bring all I need and let me remain working here by your side," almost daring him. "Every day together," she repeated, startled. "And bringing everything." She widened her eyes at the boldness and he pulled her tighter, sealing the thought with another kiss. With those words she felt like a leaf drifting in the wind. He does not lie, she thought. Yes, it is all false. The truth is that I wish Adrian would claim me as his own, that he would keep me near, that he would never let me escape. Let me stay where you can watch me. Guard me with gentleness. And much later, he recalled the words that one day might be turned against her. "I am already seeing someone and he is much younger and far more handsome than you. Please, tell him the same thing as well," he pleaded silently. Rain poured outside. "Are you asleep?" she asked in the dark. "No, because of you I cannot rest, my shoulders ache." The river sank. "I still feel the weight in my chest because of you." "The way you say it is rather strange," he replied with a smile. "Do you know," he began while watching her. "I have something I want to tell you." She blinked in surprise. "Oh, what is it?" Somehow her heart quickened when those intense eyes met hers. "In the future, if there is trouble, if you feel uncertain, or simply when you need me close," he said, moving nearer like before, his tone steady. "Can you call for me without hesitation?" he asked, "so that you are never hurt again, so that I can stand by you. Say you will reach out to me. Promise it." "Yes." He nodded. She sighed, easing into calm. "I thought you would confess something far heavier." "Only that," she mused, letting a small smile escape. "He carries a side so quietly gentle." "Very well, I will do it. Even if you do not care," she teased. "In return, you must also promise." "Promise." "What?" "That you will not harm yourself again." And she brushed his face tenderly, "that you will never repeat it. Whatever comes," she added, caressing him. "What is wrong? Why will you not answer?" She pressed as he drew her into his arms. "I will scold you, promise already." "You truly?" He smiled faintly. "Forgive me, Leanne. I cannot let go of this when you reveal your weakness before me. I would rather be the one wounded. It is the only sure way to keep you near. If I suffer, your gaze will always return to me." Instead of turning toward him, she kept smiling without reply until the end. She muttered under her breath, "Do not pretend you are sleeping." She stared at him silently. "Are you truly asleep?" she asked almost in a whisper. Whenever I pose a question, he cleverly avoids answering. Whenever I ask for a vow, he only smiles. Even if he is so stubborn, when he sleeps he seems harmless. Though, what kind of harmless soul is this one? She laughed to herself. "That day, when I spoke, you stayed quiet and only watched. When Adrian promised and Leanne gave no reply that night, we failed to see it clearly. My careless answers and the vows that you met with silence did not prepare us for the end that awaited. Oh heavens, Ryder, do not twist this upon me." For the first time she raised her voice. Now I am uneasy. But going on, you left your trade to search among the ruins. Now I could believe you were chasing shadows across the valley. I received a token. It suited me. It suited you unbelievably well, thought the other. That stranger. Could she be too clever and not distracted? I wish to ask just once. What might that person think of the young teacher? I am curious as well. Let us find Adrian folding clothes. Stay calm. By now, Adrian, what could he be imagining about me? Do you know what is most dangerous between two who walk together? Silent attachment. The silent attachment, shouted the elder, drawing attention. If the hand should brush, the voices soften. And if the voices soften, even the hearts will lean close. Did you understand? And if the hearts lean close, their futures twist. He will hold you, and that is the end. So if you wish to keep your path clear, beware of the ties. She heard and turned red, hiding her face. That silent bond was the most frightening thing, and it still is. She thought with a dreamy look. In a connection that in theory was only for passing time before choosing different roads. She felt that little by little what remained was only herself. It was unsettling. Without knowing much about him, she ended up trusting his words, just like in those reckless days, like when she still believed in dreams. But aside from the pleasant parts, there was still something in him that remained uncertain. Then, let us follow Daniel. Then, everyone followed Daniel's lead. All right? Said a man praising the commitment of a young worker. The phone of one of them buzzed. Ah, an urgent message arrived. Come on, stop wasting time here and return to your tasks. Put in extra hours. Oh, it has been a while since I last called. How are you? You will end up bowing until your forehead scrapes the floor, one of them joked. Who could it be that makes him so obedient? Who knows? He laughed. Probably the head of the biggest contract, as usual. Is that not the main source of stability? Asked someone on the line. Yes, of course. Thanks to that, both the firm and I are managing well. HM. And this time, what is the matter? Asked the man in concern. Adrian, you are far too mysterious, and yet I cannot dislike it. Strangely, he understood the heart of a woman too well. He appeared when I was fragile, saying just the words I longed to hear, things that made him seem like the hero of a story or film, someone who knew my thoughts like the lines of his hand. She mused while listening to the television. That is why, even knowing something was wrong, I began yielding little by little, but the true identity of that man. She widened her eyes as the image flashed across the screen. And with that we close today's chapter. The narrator left something that made me half uneasy, but well, until next week. So make sure to leave a like so the story continues, and see you in the next chapter.
Hello guys, welcome back in Goku Manhwa, let's continue.
In the kitchen speaking with Oni. First of all, he has a dangerous charm. She corrected. It's not just charm and nothing else. His presence is deeply magnetic, the girl mutters, irritated. She recalls the nights spent around him. And besides, you would never guess what kind of past he carried. Sometimes he lingered for hours just watching the rain with me, yet on other days he vanished for weeks as if pulled into another world. He lived between shadows, never keeping a stable rhythm. And besides, his words dripped with tenderness. Memories surged. Each moment he claimed I was special, that I was his only light. But it was a script. A well-rehearsed lie from a practiced actor. His stare felt painfully genuine. Ah, how foolish I was. If I surrendered again, I might even trade away my soul. Lastly, he mastered the hearts of women. Gentle touches and nights of fire. A wanderer with countless disguises. Back at the restaurant, Oni erupted, furious. That man is nothing but a phantom. Of course, he is a phantom. Who dared to play with our strong Uni? Uni lowered her gaze, powerless. But there was nothing he could steal from me. Ani objected. You're too soft, honey. Humans can strip even a bird of its feathers. Did you really give nothing away while together with him? Then 2001, a packet of tea, a pair of socks, a notebook, and a faded scarf I gifted. But look, see, there he is. That cursed phantom. Honey, you still need to cut him off. Understand? Are you hearing me? Can't you see this woman has already been marked? Hey, Uni sat frozen in silence. I never thought the reason you approached me was something so shallow. He isn't that reckless. She thought of Mitchell. Fix yourself a little. Try some color on your lips. She condemned herself. A woman divorced and empty-handed. Faded, unwanted, and worn woman. Beneath the rain she recalled the words carved into her that staying together wounded you more than it wounded me. It was a truth too sharp to deny. If your aim had been theft, seeing me broken like that, you surely would have disappeared long ago. In her chest, she admitted. At that thought, anger slipped away, leaving only sorrow. Memories returned. How old are you? I'm already an adult, she asked often, but he always hid behind vague diversions. What kind of work do you do? Just an ordinary job. And he always dodged clear replies. It's not what you imagine, so stop worrying. Uni whispered, staring into emptiness. More than I believed, you were skilled at hiding truths, sleeping by his side. From a certain point on, as if it belonged to someone else, there lingered for days that faint scent of smoke which faded without warning. She feels unease. Do you really wander into such acts? That ring on his hand. That actually looks striking on you, Tyre. It's a present. Thank you, Nuna. If you ever want something more, say it. I'll bring it all. Last night was unforgettable. I felt the same. But soon she warns, you cannot consume me again and throw me away. Yet she shivers at once. I could not stop picturing you repeating those kinds of things appeared in my thoughts far too quickly. Lips that always deliver the words I wish to hear. Fierce, revealing eyes. If you behave that way, how could any woman resist? Surely there will be many offering more than devotion. It's not about 2001 or some worn-out little scarf. Faded memories echo. Hey, let me see you. Those days also existed for the old Kang Mitchell. I'll be direct. You know that in Uni Jia Yang's home they have wealth, don't you? I don't know. You don't know. That's something you shouldn't dismiss. That man has countless women drawn toward him. Mitchell doesn't require it to be you. He always gathered admirers, and they still surround him. You know it. And even so, in the end, you show no shred of remorse. Keep that remembered. If it weren't for you, Mitchell's life would have flowed peacefully. You ruined him. She observes him. Ah, Grandpa, stay seated and rest. I'll handle this. But you might strain your back. He chuckles. It's not so heavy. You were a radiant youth with empty pockets. You drew people into your orbit. A man like him had no reason to pursue such paths. And now it feels he repeats the same pattern. That radiant and striking boy. With him nothing has changed. Shadowed memories resurface. It was all because of you. With a bitter tone, he says, I remain like this only because of you, highly. But there is something I never spoke to young Tang Mitchell. Do not let whispers destroy you, even if cruel and unbearable. If we walk together, we should endure somehow. But at that time, we were far too young. So instead of saying hold on to me, but don't drift away, she only clasped your weary hands and in silence dreaded you might disappear. At 34, we stood bearing scars and revealing them. Hailey had then turned into a cautious and uncertain woman. Bright recollections covered the cracks. I don't want to leave yet. This time truly, I need to speak before the chance vanishes. Hello. Is this the bookstore? Even if all collapses, let's smile and stretch life a little longer. I'd like to visit the shop. I can't pay much. It's modest and plain, but if it pleases you, you can pause by my side. Yes, please contact me without fail. She falters, remembering him. If you're doing this only for appearances, you could release it. At least now in some way I'll struggle to gather the money and build a corner where we can remain together. I'll manage it. Even if I must wear myself thin once again, she quivers. In truth, I'm uncertain. Am I scared of the shame of being this woman? Or perhaps what gnaws at me is knowing that where I am absent, you win another's heart with your gestures. Let's go to Tayao in a clothing shop. We use only fabrics of the finest weaving. Their texture stands out from the very first touch. When you notice them, they're elegant strikes, and because they are timeless, they never lose appeal. Do you perhaps recall the shoe size of the person you want to surprise? Let's slip into one of his memories. The two wander together in a gallery. He brushes her arm until she finally speaks. You're tickling me. Hold still. He laughs with delight, savoring those moments. He lifts a pair of shoes and imagines they're shaped like HIL's feet. Please craft the same style in the same shade of blue. Ha! This size fits perfectly. Ah, the one receiving them will be overjoyed. We'll make sure it's flawless. Jay watches. My employer has picked up a new fascination. Now something unusual rested on his shelf. It looked misplaced there. Shoebox upon shoebox. Ha! Here we go again. And how long has it been since I said he was a modest man? Now he drifts into luxury. Spend only what you can afford. If his fortune is hidden and he cannot even give away these pairs, why does he keep collecting like this? He recalls him once saying, "Do you understand? The tie between family and home is heavier than we realize." It seems that phrase lingered within. Now that I notice they're all matching shoes. I think I misjudged everything. Ha! I don't know. Damn it. Best to act as if I noticed nothing. Now we move to Ari, who looks a little pale. Already in her bed, Mitchell clings to her tightly. Wait. Oa, turn to me. I want to see your face. Say something. I need more than this. Yet he stays wordless. Why recently? Have you started guarding yourself again? What are you implying? Of course, I must. A few nights ago, we did it without thinking. I assumed you had chosen. What choice? That was only a slip. A slip? Do you always slip? We didn't even use one in the park either. Dad, naturally. But he halts there. Ha, enough. Why do you cut off halfway? What do you mean by naturally? Speak clearly. We step into a clinic. Welcome. Are you searching for anything specific? Hand me a test kit, please. Ari requested a little nervously. Mitchell might soon have a child. But at least our Hailey now stands firm. Well, friends, it's just about waiting until the coming week. Tomorrow, I'll unveil this entire piece for you all. Until then.
Hello guys, welcome back in Goku Manhwa, let's continue.
The next day, Ari seemed rather uneasy as she sat with her friend, letting out a restless sigh that immediately drew attention. Her friend asked why she was sighing like that, pointing out that she looked as though she had carried the weight of the whole sky. Ari quietly responded that she felt lost. Her friend asked what she meant by feeling that way and told her to speak clearly, to which Ari admitted she had failed her audition, and she considered that to have been her one chance. Her friend stared at her in disbelief and said that most people usually felt relieved after escaping such pressure, but Ari was upset because she had not succeeded. Ari explained that her voice cracked during the performance. She added that she had even imagined celebrating with her parents afterward, and since the director had smiled at her during practice, she thought it was already settled in her favor. Her friend widened her eyes at the reasoning, asking who would guarantee success based on a single look and expressing disbelief at her logic. She then asked what Ari was truly worried about. She reminded her that she had said she loved singing, so even without winning this audition, wouldn't another opportunity eventually come her way anyway? She pointed out that Ari seemed to desire recognition in a way that could damage her spirit if things turned against her, and as a friend, she felt it was necessary to take this more carefully. She added that ever since Ari had started chasing this dream, her mood had shifted in troubling ways. Ari cut her off sharply, asking what she even understood to speak in such a manner. She questioned whether her friend thought she knew music better than she did and whether she even realized how difficult the journey had been for her. She explained that she had seen Marcus struggle countless times and even if he admired her, she did not believe he could easily commit to a long journey together. Growing impatient, Ari brushed off the discussion and said she did not want to continue, quickly walking out and leaving her friend unsettled. The scene shifted to Naya, who was scrolling through her tablet as she received a note from Darren. He informed her that he was not attending class and would be waiting for her until she finished. Naya thought to herself that it was an odd choice since it was a busy day. Perhaps he had skipped his lecture deliberately. She tried not to overthink the reason, but lately suspicion had started growing heavier within her mind. Naya typed back asking what he was doing right then. He replied that he was waiting outside because he wanted to see her face. Naya thought his words always seemed different from how his actions appeared. He was so gentle that it almost made her guilty for suspecting him. She wondered if someone so calm could truly carry the dangerous traits she silently feared. Naya sent him another note asking if he wanted her to tell him a riddle while he waited. Darren asked what kind it was. Naya replied that it was one she had overheard at the library where she volunteered. They said a shadow appeared there at night. Darren responded that he would not be able to rest alone that evening because of how eerie it sounded and he asked if she would sit with him. Naya replied not to tease. While Darren drifted in thoughts, he recalled that when her glance once lingered over him, it had not seemed harsh. He had only admired her quietly, and if possible, he would have remained that way forever. He remembered when she fell asleep at the study hall and a loud student disturbed her, but he had stepped forward, calmed the boy, and escorted him out, even helping him get back to his dormitory safely. Suddenly, Naya stirred awake from her nap and apologized to Darren, asking if he was planning to remain there until morning. Darren said he only wanted to speak with her a little longer, thinking there were just the two of them left in the place anyway. She told him to use the stairway to get back to his room. The following day, the same man who often spread gossip stood at the desk, telling the manager that a strange shadow had appeared in the study hall. The manager frowned, saying that after being silent so long, the first thing he uttered was some nonsense about a phantom, claiming he was out of his mind and trying to scare students away. The visitor, however, stood firmly by his story. He described the figure as unusually tall and faint, sharp in appearance, yet strangely alluring, like one of those haunting beings in folklore. He swore that the shadow had stood still, smiling faintly, fixing its eyes directly upon him. The moment he saw it, he knew it was not human. The gaze had locked him in place. Then it had escorted him outside, placed him in a foreign taxi, and dropped him off at a shining apartment complex. The manager dismissed his words and mocked him by asking if he thought he was some fairy-tale prince being taken to the palace in a magical chariot. She then told him to avoid wandering around at night. Later, she retold the tale to Naya and asked if she had seen such a figure or anything like it. Naya calmly shook her head. The manager chuckled and said she supposed the man had been imagining things after drinking. She added that for them, failing grades were far more terrifying than spirits. Still, she mentioned that if he truly had seen something, perhaps it was not a ghost at all, but rather a guardian presence. She remarked that the library had been drawing in record numbers of students every weekend, and if it kept doing that well, she might even start believing in phantoms herself. Naya silently thought that Marcus had not sent her a message all day. The manager then greeted Darren and showed him to a room where he could rest. She mentioned the rate was 40 units, but said she would throw in a favor since there were snacks out front, encouraging him to help himself. Darren took a glance at Naya, noticing the concern hidden in her eyes. The manager remarked that he was strikingly handsome, almost like a performer. Naya only replied that she had not noticed. The manager teased her, asking how she could overlook someone like that, and remarked that she was always talking about her studies while Darren overheard everything. He thought to himself that in the beginning, all he wished was that she would not be too burdened, that she would not be exhausted, and that her days would not be so heavy. Then he wished that she would not fall ill, that she would not feel lonely, and that she might smile even just a little. Later at the cafe, Naya appeared pale as she apologized for arriving late. She thought about Marcus and wondered what was happening since he had not messaged her first. Naya then received a call from the manager, who asked about the schedule. Naya replied that the assignments were on the desk and apologized for not completing the readings, promising she would make sure to finish them next time. Darren overheard her words again. After that, Naya called Marcus and asked about the presentation. She explained that she was not trying to push him, but was simply curious. She quickly apologized for questioning him and said she should not have spoken in that way. She asked him not to be upset and apologized once more before Marcus ended the call. Afterwards, she lowered her head and cried while trembling. At that moment, Darren made a silent vow. From then on, he would be ruthless toward Marcus. He planned to leave him behind in his own style, to strike him with pain he never intended to feel, to sever him completely, and to take his place. He wondered what Naya would think. Could she forgive him? Could she endure being with the one who would betray her and cause her tears? Just then, someone reported to Darren that Marcus had been seen entering the registrar's office, and it appeared to be about a suspension.
Hello guys, welcome back in Goku Manhwa, let's continue.
Mitchell inside the station clutched a ticket in his palm as he stared blankly at the platform. His mind slipped back to a memory when he once dragged Leon out while she pleaded for him not to be harsh. She explained it was all confusion, yet her excuses only deepened his fury. He recalled how he pressed her against the fence, asking what nonsense she meant by confusion and daring her to stop deceiving herself. He had told her coldly that aside from him, no one else in this world would ever truly stand beside her. The memory then changed to a gentler moment when Mara admitted that she felt anxious, confessing that surely many women secretly admired him. Mitchell had scoffed bitterly, asking who would ever be drawn to a man who spent his nights wandering across dim alleys. He had assured her there was nothing to fear. But Mara with striking certainty said she could not believe that because in her eyes he was genuinely extraordinary. Those words reached his heart. When she begged him not to speak that way and wrap her arms around him fiercely, Mitchell had felt alive again. Even if it was not her, the truth that someone cherished him reminded him he was still human. He remembered Mara clinging to him as she wept, begging him never to disappear. In those moments, Mitchell believed he could simply discard Leanne whenever he wished, which was why he thought their bond meant far more to her. Whenever reality weighed heavily, they lost themselves in each other, finding comfort in their broken closeness. Even if the entire world despised Kang Mikkel, he believed Leanne would never forsake him. And that belief alone held him together. Yet his mind soured as he pictured Jeren Dao with Leanne. The vision of her crying out with desire, pleading for more from Dao, while Dao smirked proudly, made Mikkel tremble. The image pierced through him as he snapped out of it, convincing himself that such a thing was impossible. He told himself that Leanne would never be capable of betraying him. The present Leanne messaged him asking where he had gone since he had disappeared for half the day without saying anything, for which Mitchell replied he needed to handle an errand. As she pressed further, warning that she would grow angry, Mitchell thought he should just ignore it as he was exhausted from explaining. When Mitchell stepped into a small bookstore, he called out if anyone was there, for which the keeper asked why he was coming inside since it was not business hours yet. Mitchell explained he was not there to buy, only hoping to inquire about something. He asked about Mara, mentioning she had worked there in the past. The keeper told him to wait, saying it came back to him, then admitted he had indeed seen that woman. He asked why Mitchell searched for her there, explaining she had not worked there for over 3 years, and asked if she had ever mentioned where she was heading next, or even the name of another place. The man questioned Mitchell's purpose, asking who he was to be chasing after her. Mitchell hesitated as no words came. The keeper scoffed, saying he could not even give a proper answer. When Mitchell demanded to know if he had information, the keeper stated he knew nothing, and even if he did, he would never reveal it. He asked why he should tell some stranger who had barged inside demanding details about that woman. She was constantly trailed by creditors and rough men, and he figured Mitchell was no different from them. So he shouted for him to leave as he shoved him and demanded that he stop lingering and get out. Mitchell struck the counter and asked who was shielding who. He dared the man, telling him if he had a voice then to speak it already, declaring he was not one of those men. He declared that he was in fact her husband. Later at the station, the clerk apologized, saying that receiving a permit was going to be extremely difficult. Mitchell was stunned as he had never thought it would be this harsh. But truth revealed itself harsher than he imagined. As he stepped out of the station, he thought even in this pit of despair, Leanne always trusted there would be brighter days. He recalled Leanne cautioning him never to rely on strangers for dangerous favors. Mikkel scoffed as he wondered if she was hopelessly blind or simply foolish. Or perhaps not. Kang Mikkel had carried himself there knowing everything and still decided to endure only to trust her voice, and that made him the greater fool. He could not confess it to Leanne, but the people who would truly offer chances to men like them only lived inside the pit. Likely because he was depending on Mara's savings and staying at her place. He had a small amount of wages put aside, but it was nothing more than a worthless few notes. Like a stray. It was insufficient. And considering how they were hiding away at home, those men were utterly determined. Yet if he gathered from every corner, he could pull together more. Mitchell once recalled asking companions if Leanne was really so striking. One replied she was only a village girl who pretended to be meek. Others remarked she was somewhat pretty, yet beauty never filled one's hunger. Mitchell thought that at the academy she might have been the loveliest among them. But one of them mentioned she had remained in college for years and was still entangled with Mitchell. Another agreed it was strange, saying she had even appeared at the campus recently. She insisted she would wait until he enrolled, which made things messy. They whispered about her bike, asking if anyone had seen her ride up on a sport model, and if her brother was wealthy, then Kang Mikkel was truly fortunate. They asked how he always found fortune with women. Another warned him not to call her plain. He laughed it aside, saying if he was so envious, he should court her himself instead of Kang Mikkel. They chuckled as Mikkel's companions saw him talking closely with Leanne and noticed her glowing smile. He dismissed it as nonsense, believing she was not attractive at all. Later, while Mikkel labored at a workshop, a man arrived and asked if he was preparing for an upcoming test, wondering why he was wasting time there. Mikkel answered that he was preparing. The man told him to think of something else as the tests were near. Mikkel replied he already had enough grades to qualify. The person sneered, saying he knew how to argue, but he still had to finish school, secure honest work, and prove he could support a family. He asked the name of the girl Mitchell was seeing. Mitchell asked why he was sneaking around him and why he was prying with useless questions anyway. The elder grabbed his collar briefly to make him gasp. While Mitchell promised not to worry as he was leaving, he had already stored away more than